Product provided for free. Cheers, you absolute legends. I think I'm going to talk about this now. Crawling Angels is a really interesting game, but it dives into some very uncomfortable topics that those familiar with my content should be familiar with. I honestly don't even know really what to list, because a lot of it is heavily implied but never actually outright said. I'm just going to put a blanket warning about things like sexual topics involving children being killed, fairly gross sounding noises and visuals. I don't really know what to list, but just fair warning. Basically, the same warning I gave for Black Souls. A little bit less though. The game itself never explicitly states or shows any of these things, but it does dive into these topics. So obviously I will be discussing them. If they make you uncomfortable, please stop watching the video. I do not want to cause any undue stress that is unneeded. Anyway, please enjoy.
Poor little Jacob. Through blotted clouds of memory, I recall the wail of that cruel black train. I wish I remembered only the agony of that night. But alas, I recall such joy.
Crawling Angels is a really interesting game, and that is putting it extremely lightly, to say the least. Developed by two devs, it's Natalia, whom I know from Perfect Vermin, but also a couple of other games that you might have seen that she made, and also Autumn West, who has a small amount of experience in the indie world, but I'm not actually too familiar with her. Honestly, I couldn't find a lot on her, but she does seem to be somewhat active in the itch.io scene of game making. It's not really the website I use to look around for games, but she is very active and she's currently working on a platformer called Clown Meat. But what is Crawling Angels, and why has it caught my attention? Well, I was given it for free, joking, but why? In the devs' words, it's a physics-based puzzle game with horror and sandbox elements, and all said puzzles revolve around the central item or thing in this game.
I hate these chickens.
The Forever Chicken, a mysterious creature that seems to never truly die. And under the watchful eye of our definitely related Uncle Tontine, we will have to solve a multitude of puzzles all associated with this chicken, or as they actually are called in the game, charades, or riddles. Now, what is the central gameplay of this game? What are these riddles? Well, the riddles are normally a small strip of paper with a couple of words on it, and they will give you a hint about what you need to do to the chicken to solve said riddle. And they can be fairly simple, like putting a hat on the chicken, or they can be a little bit more complicated, like lighting a cigarette and giving it to a dead rat to let it have a puff, play cutball, hit the chicken with a hammer, make the chicken kiss a dead fish, summon a demon and exorcise it with the Holy Bible, burn the Bible, force feed the chicken pennies, shoot the chicken, shove a nail up the chicken's ass. Wait, what? Yeah, it's gonna get weird. Crawling Angels' story isn't really something I can sort of place out and outline like I normally do, where I go along with a story and it just show you it and that explains it. Crawling Angels doesn't really tell you anything, but I will do my best to try and outline the story as best as possible, and I do want to show how well written and how well paced this game's central mystery and point is throughout the game, because it is so enjoyable to play through and actually discover what is going on. At the center of this game is a mystery that you yourself need to solve. Yes, you're solving riddles throughout the entire game, but the entire story itself is a riddle as well, and I'll do my job to interpret it how I would. Will I get it right? No. Will I get it wrong? Probably. But it's how I interpreted the story, and I encourage you to do the same. But I think we need to start with outlining some of the characters that we'll be meeting throughout our journey. And I think we have to start with the most important character to understanding this entire game. That being the man who runs this dark carnival, Uncle Tontine.
Little Jacob. Is there any way I can help? Why, you were at Heaven's Gate Carnival, of course. Where children are whisked away to play wonderful games in the hours of the night. Do you not remember boarding the train? You haven't been here long, little Jacob. You and your friends just arrived. Why, I am your Uncle Tontine. Not by blood, of course. I am the proprietor of these games. Little Connor, Brett, Michael, and Myrtle came with you all from the township of Wilcox. Why, yes, little Jacob, of course she is. Tell you what, little Jacob, take my 2 cents. And go buy yourself some tools to play some more with the Forever Chicken. It's a wonderful game, and it's meant just for you. Solve some riddles. Enjoy the night while it lasts. When you tire, you shall return home at your own discretion. Have fun, little Jacob.
Now from the opening, that voice was Tontine, and he mentions a little Jacob and some event, something to do with a cruel black train, a memory that little Jacob might remember with, let's say, less than stellar thoughts. Agony, to be exact. But Tontine remembers this time as being joyful. He loves the train. And the first time we speak to Tontine himself, he tells us exactly where we are and where we came from. Us and a couple of friends, our friends being called Brett, Connor, Michael and Myrtle, all being whisked away during the night to play in the Heaven's Gate Carnival, and Uncle Tontine, not uncle by blood, is the proprietor of these games aboard the train. And we were all whisked away from the township of Wilcox, which I think is in Michigan. I could be wrong, but I'm not American. I tried to look it up, I tried to figure it out, but it never really gave me a straight answer, and Michigan was the best answer I got. But all these other characters, the friends, one character is brought to the front, that being Myrtle. Jacob, protagonist, pulls attention to her, and obviously telling us that she is a character of importance. But before Tontine tells us anything about Myrtle and where she is, he hands us some coins to play with the Forever Chicken, a game meant just for us. And this is something that I think needs to be stated. Each game in this carnival is designed for one specific person, and our game is the Forever Chicken. But what the fuck does any of this mean? Train, whisked away during the night, Myrtle, Michigan, what does all of it mean? Well, I don't know. But let's go over some of those names that we've met and see if we can find any meaning within them. First of all, the train carnival being called Heaven's Gate Carnival, which when I read that name, I was having some insane deja vu, and that's because, yeah, this is a real thing. Heaven's Gate cult, which was a cult where in the 26th of March 1997, 39 of its members all took their life, believing that this was their exit from Earth and they were going to board an alien spacecraft. It was a very big mass suicide. I'm not going to explain the entire Heaven's Gate cult and what happened there. Basically, they had a very influential leader. He convinced them all of what was going on. I think he died of cancer, and then his wife took over and then got him all to kill himself. I can't remember exactly, but I think what was happening was he was dying of cancer and he wanted everyone to die with him because he didn't want people to not realize he wasn't like God's chosen one. I could be wrong. There is a really good Red Thread episode of it that is done by Moist Critical, Jackson Clark, and the funny lip man Wendigoon. And it is a great watch because Wendigoon actually does give some good insight into this event. But what about some of the other names? Michael, of course, is an archangel, and Michael means basically who is like God. Myrtle, the myrtle tree, representing peace, prosperity, and God's blessing. And Jacob, the grandson of Abraham, a very important figure in the Bible who throughout goes on a journey of transforming from a man of selfish scheming to a man of divine dependence. And despite Jacob's faults and problems, God remained faithful to him, believing that he could change and improve himself in a way. The story in the Bible of Jacob is meant to demonstrate that God isn't there to punish you and destroy evil, but help guide people back who have lost their way and correct their path. A spiritual rebirth, if you will, something that I think many people misunderstand about the Bible. God isn't there to punish you. He wants to find those who are willing to improve themselves and change their lives for the better. Ones who are not filled with sin and all they can do is sin. The ones that can overcome it and choose to be good. And Jacob, the name itself, I think is telling us that this entire game, our main protagonist here is going to go on some insane spiritual journey where he is reborn, where he grows significantly. Something is going to happen that affects him greatly. Basically though, Jacob is meant to represent that God will save people based on their grace and beliefs, not by their own efforts and scheming to make themselves greater and more powerful and more influential. It's meant to tell people that no matter how much money, how much power, how much fame you get, if you're not faithful and if you don't practice the teachings and lessons of God, you will not make it to heaven. I think. Again, I'm not religious, I'm not a Christian, so comments, let me know if I'm wrong, but I think that's what I get from reading a lot of the parts of Jacob in the Bible and what a lot of people interpret it as. But any comments about anything about Christianity that I might have misinterpreted, please let me know, because this game put me through a fucking loop, because again, I'm not Christian. And it's clear that this game is linked to Christianity in multiple ways with all the references and stuff. For fuck's sake, there's a whole Bible in it. I tried to rip out every page. I basically just ripped out all of Genesis and stopped because I realized it was the whole fucking Bible, which I probably should have realized by it being called the Holy Bible. Insert me tearing out every page. But I think a name that is even more interesting is the one that almost has no relation to the Bible or anything religious or mythological at all. That being Tontine. Tontine means, by definition, an annuity shared by subscribers to a loan or common fund, the shares increasing as subscribers until the last survivor enjoys the whole income. What does that mean? Basically, it's an investment plan where participants pool all of their money and resources to receive some sort of dividend, probably each year, in return while they are living. But once one of these subscribers dies, all of the wealth is redistributed and everyone else increases their wealth. The rising tide raises all boats. And eventually, of course, there will be only one person remaining who will basically inherit all of the wealth. They will win the game, if you will. These schemes in the modern world are widely banned in most civilized places for very obvious reasons, because people will kill each other. But why is Tontine called Tontine? I think we will figure this out as the game goes on, but keep in mind that a person who is involved with a Tontine benefits when other members of the Tontine die. Anyway, who are these other patrons of this carnival though? Well, I guess we should truly meet some of our friends, starting with the most important, Myrtle. Well, she seems rather fine with everything going on, and she seems rather friendly. What about this Connor fellow?
Hey Connor, how? This is awesome. This place is as big as a church and a million times more fun. I love the music. I've never heard music like that. I saw some people playing a game with dice. I thought only adults could play card and dice games. Oh yeah, Mr. Tontine gave me these paper notes. They're like a puzzle, but I don't really care about them. He said I only needed to do 2 of them, not all 3, and that makes it easier. But you take them. I'm gonna go play cards like my dad. Oh, okay.
Connor seems fine as well, like this is all normal. What about Michael?
It's so weird having to wear those hoods while inside. Jacob, do you think this place is something to do with the clan boys? What? No. Yeah, from what my daddy said about his friends, I thought the clan were more serious than this. Well, maybe our hood costumes sort of just look like that. Your dad has some friends in the clan? Duh. Of course he does. He my dad. I'm standing next to someone in there, and I have no idea if it's you or not. What a weird rule. Tontine came up to me and gave me these little weird papers. I'm not actually sure how he knew which hooded kid was me. Maybe he could tell because I got big bones. You can have them. They're like a whole thing. I don't care about stuff like that.
Well, Michael is part of the clan, another cult that follows somewhat Christian values. A warped Christian value, if you ask me. And I really did not expect him to just blurt this out. But there is a fun thing about this. While I was perusing the dev's Twitter, it's the Talia told a story about how one of her friends when she was younger just said that their dad worked as a Hell's Angel, which surprised her because her perception of them were these ruthless criminals. I think that's what she is trying to reflect here, and she does state that. She wants to reflect how casual having people involved with these groups can be in certain communities and societies. I'm sure there are some people that do know people who are a part of the clan, and it is just like every Wednesday to them. But to me, other people who never really hear about these things and see them as these evil groups that should never be touched, it's a bit of a shock, a bit of a surprise. But it's a funny moment. I started choking because I was laughing so much because it just comes out of nowhere. It's a good joke. I like it. But Michael does inform us of one thing. He informs us that the people who are in the carnival are forced into wearing hoods, which, yeah, I'm sure I don't need to outline why that reminds him of the clan. But Michael complains about getting hot and sweaty in them, and he mentions that he is a big-boned boy. Obviously, a larger fellow. A fat person, like me. But we can also ask Tontine about why we need to wear these bags inside the carnival train.
Why do we need to wear those bags inside?
My little Jacob, within the Heaven's Gate Carnival, we mustn't harm one another, which requires that we are all strangers.
What if I don't want to wear it?
There are but two rules to this carnival, and those rules are gospel. One, you must wear the provided attire within the carnival. Two, you must have fun.
Okay. And what Tontine says doesn't sound like a carnival that has, simple rules to keep it civilized, like you can't just go around punching people and stuff, but more like a cult. All the members must treat each other with kindness and not harm one another. And to ensure this, they all must be strangers to one another. They must hide their identities when inside the carnival. But these are not rules, they're gospel. Gospel means the teaching or revelation of Christ. These rules are God's will itself, rules that God enacts. It's a bit odd and it feels strange, but it does tell us that whoever runs this carnival is a higher being, someone that is above mankind and gives rules that are gospel, that must be followed. It's a bit odd and it does make you question, where the fuck are we? But after completing some of the riddles that we were given, we can again chat to our friends, starting with Brett.
Jacob, you're pretty smart. Does the inside of the carnival make sense to you? Yeah, it's a big tent. I know, that sounds weird. The size just doesn't make sense. It seems too big in there. I walked circles around the inside, counting my steps, but every lap they counted off. I was walking around here and it was way less steps than the inside. How does that work? Maybe you're taking bigger steps out here because it's dark? No, I was careful. That Tontine guy gives me the creeps.
Does he know where he's going with his eyes shut like that? He seems nice enough to me. He gave me these rolled up word puzzles and then patted my head like he was my uncle or something. Once I can talk Connor into it, we're leaving. I have such a rotten feeling about this place. Take the riddles. I need to find Connor and get us out of here. Wait, actually, the riddles might be important. I'll make you a copy. Brett is the first character that we will talk to that seems very suspicious of this place, with the tent itself not following the basic laws of physics, being much bigger inside than it appears on the outside. It is a TARDIS, if you will, and he worries for his brother Connor, who, if you speak to Connor, seems to be really enjoying the carnival. But we do learn that the pair are twins, and Connor is the older one. And twins are a very important thing in the Bible as well, with Jacob being one pair of twins that appear in the Bible. But I think the pair of twins that applies more in this case for these two is Perez and Zerah. Connor states that he is the older twin, being born 31 minutes earlier. And in Perez and Zerah's case, Zerah stuck his hand out first and was marked as the firstborn child with a red thread placed on his hand. Red thread. But Perez was the one that actually breached first and was technically born first, symbolizing that God's grace and plans themselves disrupt human expectation. The plans of God confuse us and they don't make sense to us mortal beings, and that's what the twins are meant to symbolize. Also, Perez is a direct ancestor of Jesus Christ himself, so maybe one of the twins will lead to Jesus being born again. But overall, from my interpretation, their birth is meant to symbolize how God's power can create a beautiful future through complex and chaotic circumstances like the birth of these twins. Also, we are given the riddles fish lips, blast fishing, and unborn cowboy from Connor. I mean, the unborn one is kind of like a hey hey wink wink nudge nudge thing that I think is meant to push you in this interpretation to look at them in this way. That ties everything more to the Bible. But the other ones, but also the dev, Talia, stated that the person in real life that inspired Connor told them when they were in their childhood that if they touched penises together, they would be gay, which is bad and meant that they would die sooner. Yeah, I don't know. So some very interesting stories that this dev has about childhood. Anyway, let's not talk about private parts just this second. What's Michael got to say now?
Itchy. I'm so itchy. I can't scratch because I'm all slippery, but I swear I'm not sweating. I think I'm allergic to these bear costumes.
They're not made of anything that weird though.
I know we're not supposed to take them off inside, but I get tempted when I itch. Hey, I wonder why Tontine is so specific about which games we have to play.
Michael puts more riddles into your hands without even asking if you want them.
When you're done with that chicken game, I want to give it a try.
I don't think it's much of a game, but I'd be happy to swap with you.
See ya, Michael.
Michael is very, very itchy. Could it be an allergic reaction to the bag? Maybe. But what about the Bible? What does that say? Well, to my fucking surprise, the Bible, more specifically in the Old Testament, makes a reference to an itch that was a severe physical plague or skin disease, which was a curse received by those for disobedience of the Lord. So it seems that Michael here has been a naughty, you teasing me, but it could have to do with the beliefs of his family, and more specifically that of the clan, and now God punishing him for that, because we'd have to assume that whatever rules and Christianity the clan follows is probably different to the Heaven's Gate Carnival here, and now he is being punished for that, or he's just having a really bad allergic reaction. And then after this, Myrtle does mention a talking pony called Cinnamon, and of course this made me think about the talking donkey in the Bible, who could also speak, and this donkey has many meanings, but the thing that's associated with in its story are greed, compromise, and betrayal. But what's the most interesting thing is that we're told that all of these games that these kids are playing, they were made for each person specifically. And Myrtle having a talking horse that you feed peanut butter, you could link that to believing that maybe the horse links to her story in some way, like the chicken will link to ours. Is this what it is? Maybe, but Myrtle does play with multiple different games throughout the game, so I don't think there is a specific link with hers apart from one, but just keep in mind that each of the games that these kids are playing are tied to them specifically. But finally, gracefully, Tontine can give us more information about the chicken itself.
Oh, how wonderful it is that you're having fun. Curious about the forever chicken? I take it. I can't blame you. It's a confounding beast. Whenever you look away, it stitches itself back together. Out of every attraction here, it's the oldest by far. I feel I've known it as long as I remember.
And as I thought, this chicken is extremely important. It is the oldest attraction here, so old in fact that Tontine can't remember a time where it wasn't there. So we should be asking, why have we been given the oldest attraction here? What is so important about it? Speaking to Myrtle after solving more riddles, she now mentions that she's been given a new thing to play with, a new attraction. Well, Tontine keeps showing her something new. A turtle snake thing that keeps turning itself inside out. Now, a turtle snake thing, monster creature that turns itself inside out is a very interesting visual. First of all, let's start with the basic part of it. The turtle snake creature could be Genbu, but turning itself inside out, that is not something that Genbu does to my knowledge. And this one object, this one creature, confused me quite a bit. Now, an inside out turtle snake creature, for some reason, my brain thought this was going to turn sexual. Somehow. Let me explain. You might question why. Why did you think this, Croc? Well, snakes. Snakes have often been used to describe a certain phallic object, such as one of my favourite scenes in Xenoblade 2 where Zeke von Genbu is called a one-eyed snake. Wait, Genbu? Maybe I'm onto something here. But not only that, turtles as well are often used as a visual to show an erection. You know, the turtle sticks its head out of the shell. You get my point. I honestly don't know. If anyone understands this any more than I do, I'd love to know, because what my interpretation of it is ties more into the ending than it does as an item itself, because this item completely stumped me. I could see how it's Genbu, but why does it turn itself inside out? I have an idea, but I don't know if it's right, but we'll get more into this later. But remember this object, a turtle snake creature that turns itself inside out. But the more important thing here that we learn from Myrtle and her dialogue is that her and Jacob's relationship is a little bit strained, with little Jacob asking if Myrtle is still mad with him due to what happened, and Myrtle brushes it off, not wanting to talk about it. So we know that something happened between them and it's causing a slight amount of discomfort. It's an uncomfy subject to talk about. Did they get in an argument? Did they get in a physical fight? Did they do something they weren't meant to? We don't know just yet, but there is something there that's underlying. It's bothering both of them, but Jacob sees it as something bad that he did. And that's important. Jacob feels bad for something that he himself did to or with Myrtle. But this train, we still don't really understand what it is. And Brett, who just left with his brother, somehow has already returned, and he doesn't remember anything that happened between him leaving and returning to said carnival. But his brother Connor remembers going back to school and everything in between. And little Jacob does mention that we did indeed only talk to him about 10 minutes ago, which makes it clear leaving this place isn't a choice that we can make. We are trapped here for whatever reason unless we are let out by Tontine or whoever's actually running the games, but we are also forced to come back. I'm sure that Brett didn't want to come back, but he for some reason did come back even though he was desperate to leave, implying that he was forced to come back. And if you want to know, by the way, Connor is extremely happy to be back in the carnival, but there's something visually a bit different about him and his hair, these little yellow specks. Maybe he's got highlights, little frosted tips. Now, to reinforce the point of time and leaving and everything not making sense, trying to speak to Myrtle again now, Tontine appears and tells us that she just returned from her vacation back home.
Are you looking for little Myrtle? You are in luck. She just returned from a brief vacation back home. can't speak to her right this moment. She's inside having a ball playing with Lawson, our resident turtle boa. She is oh so fond of that creature. But she left these charades for you. I think little Myrtle would like you to solve them for her.
She went on vacation back home, telling us that going home is a luxury, it's a time-limited thing. You can't be on vacation permanently. So if you're going home, it's vacation, meaning that the kids all are meant to be here most of the time. But Tontine also tells us that we can't speak to her right now because she's playing with the very attraction that she said made her feel sick. And this moment is really good because it goes from Tontine being this kind of weird, goofy character that just seems to be running these weird games to being an individual who is controlling and dictating if we can even speak to our friends or even fucking leave for that matter. So I guess we should be wary when we try to speak to our friends in the future, as we might not be able to actually speak to them. Now Brett, after returning for a while, starts to freak out and question the rules of the gospel from Tontine, and he comes to us and tells us that he's going to remove his hood inside the carnival tent, and we get to watch what happens so we can report it back to him. So he marks his hood and then we go inside and we can see what happens when you remove the hood. He is turned to ash, being completely erased from existence itself. Where the fuck are we, man? And what is Tontine and how does he have these powers? Is he God himself? I don't know, but going to speak to Brett again after he just got turned to ash, we of course are met by Tontine instead.
Oh, little Jacob, are you looking for Brett? He's inside playing in a pit of colorful balls. He's just having oh so much fun. Once he's done playing, I'll make sure he comes to see you. Oh, and Jacob, please do remember our only rules, for those rules are gospel. You must keep your hood on while within the carnival. It's important to me that you enjoy yourself before the night is through.
Tontine just directly lied to our faces basically here, and it's very clear that he is controlling us for some reason, and we need to be here for whatever reason that is. And he wants to make sure that we have fun before the night finishes. But why? Why do we need to have fun? Why do we need to play with this forever chicken, and why do we need to wear the hoods? Now you might have spotted that we can now speak to another person, a man called Withnail.
I didn't know there was other kids like me here. I thought there was just hood faces at this show.
You're a kid? You don't look like a kid.
So much fun. Do you want to play with me? Bobby Tontine gave me these little word boxes. Because I'm so smart. I'll make you a copy of the word boxes and we can race. I'm so glad we met. I love kids like me.
Yeah, kids like you. Child. That is a grown-ass man trying to play with children. That ain't right. Withnail here is a really interesting character as well, as he clearly isn't a child, and with a name like Withnail, it's fairly unique. Now, what it made me immediately think of is an old film called Withnail and I, a 1987 black comedy film from here, the UK, England. Way. Basically, the film is about two out-of-job actors and the shit they get up to as they visit their family in the countryside. And to sum up the film really quickly, it's basically a message about how life changes from childhood / young adulthood, that carefree, no responsibilities, to true adulthood, where you have like responsibilities like a job that needs you to be there, people to take care of like children, or you know, you have to pay off a mortgage. Old people stuff. Mortgage? Fuck me, what are you, 30 years old? But Withnail here is a man who is acting like a child, which could link him to that he hasn't let go of his whimsy and carefree nature from his childhood. He is an adult who is a child by choice. And maybe that's what this place is. It's a place where people's dreams come true. And Withnail's was to return to his younger years where he had no responsibilities. Or is this a place where people go to return to being children? I don't know, man. Someone come get their dad and take him home. But he does give us a challenge to race him and solve 2 of the 3 riddles that he hands us. Now, the first time you do it, you most likely won't beat him because your brain will just fry out, and hearing a clock tick, you'll feel pressured and you'll just sit there like Patrick with a blank stare for the entire minute. But the second time around, you probably will beat him because you'll know what the riddles are. And actually beating him, he gives us some stupid important information that we really should know going into the things.
You don't think I'm a loser, right?
What do...
I'm not a loser.
No, you're not a loser. What do you know about Uncle Tontine? What does he want?
Puppy Tontine wants to be new. Puppy wants to be new for the little birdman squirming in his chest.
What?
This tent isn't real. It's all a dream woman hole.
Woman hole? What are you talking about?
Like where babies are made in women. Puppy's making a stone man baby of him while you play with Puppy's chicky baby.
But what is...
That's what you want, Jacob. No more answers. Take these word boxes. I don't want to race you anymore. I'm not a loser.
Fucking hell. The tent isn't real. It's all a dream woman hole. Or a womb, I guess? That's what that would be. We are in it along with all the other kids. Oh, wait a minute. Is this all one big depiction of the sperm race with only one of them being able to win and all the others dying off? Maybe. Probably not. But as Withnail here states, Tontine is creating a stone body, which we will see later, and that he wants to use that to be reborn with. And the tent acts as a place to allow it to grow, and I guess it just needs one thing to be added to it to be fully created. Like in the case of humans, you need 2 parties to bake bread. So why does he need us specifically? Why does he want us specifically? Is he going to have sex with us? No, he's not. I think he needs something from us, be it we need to be the individual that is used as a host, or he needs something from our mind, our psyche, whatever. Some way he is going to use us to create whatever this thing is going to birth. So we should definitely be wary of whatever Tontine is trying to create. Anywho, moving on from model golems and clay people, whatever the fuck he was talking about, we can now chat with Connor, and damn, he looks like he's been paying off his mortgage for 10 plus years now.
Oh, hey, Brett.
Did you call me Brett? What's going on with you?
Ma, what do you mean? I said Jacob. Don't try to pull fast when I'm in, make me think I'm going mad.
Connor, I don't think you're okay.
You're Brett. Don't be an arse.
No, I'm Jacob. Brett is your twin brother.
I think I remember having a twin. What does this twin look like?
Brett looks like you, but with longer hair.
Oh, an identical twin. That's even better. But if you see a Carter doppelganger around, tell me I'd like my identity back. Take these riddles, Jacob. They're for you.
Oh, Connor. Seems Brett here has forgotten a hell of a lot, including his own twin brother. But he mentions to keep an eye out for a Carter who has stolen his form. So we've seen one adult who is acting like a child, and now we have one of our friends who appears to be an old man. Is this us being... Are we actually older people, adult, who have come to this place to live out our childhood fantasies, to return to that childhood whimsy that we once had, the lack of responsibilities and everything? Maybe. Maybe that's where this is going. I'm sure Michael was alright though. Michael? What happened? Do I look okay to you, Jake? I just feel so sweaty and itchy every time I scratch.
I feel like it runs away somewhere else inside me. God, I wish it would stop. That Tontine guy gave me more riddles, but I can't do them. I'm just too itchy.
He scratches his forehead hard, rending the skin.
I finally got it.
Michael, don't do that. You're hurting yourself.
God, I hope this scratch doesn't come back.
Why is everyone getting so old and worn out? Maybe all of these people are actually older individuals who wish to go back to their childhood, their happiest days, and this carnival is just that. Or maybe we are on our way to the afterlife and we are seeing people's entire lives. We're seeing them go from childhood to adulthood to eventually dying. But Michael is still suffering from his extreme itchiness, so much so that he is scratching his skin raw to the point of bleeding. But all of these changes are occurring as we are solving more of these riddles. So as we do stuff to the chicken, does time progress, or is something different going on? Are we being shown more things to progress our journey itself? And unfortunately, there is only one option for us. That is to keep playing with the chicken so we can keep moving forward. So doing that, we eventually can speak to Connor again.
Little Carter had a message for you. He wanted you to take these riddles and solve them for him. The forever chicken is waiting for you. Connor. Oh, I had forgotten. Connor had chosen Carter as a new name. I haven't called him Connor in oh so long. Little folk, such as yourself, can be so peculiar. Go have fun. The night is still young.
Carter is actually Connor, which would explain why Brett said to us to tell Carter to give his form back, because they are identical twins, so they have the same form, and Brett thinks that Carter, who is Connor, stole the form because he's completely forgotten who Connor was. But what's also interesting is Tontine here messes up where he says I, but then backtracks to say the forever chicken. Something about the forever chicken is linked to Tontine himself. So why does he want us to keep playing with something that is so important to him, or that is him, as he refers to it in the first person as I? Up to this point, you've done everything possible that you can do to the chicken, like hit it, blow it up, put stuff in it, feed it stuff. There's nothing new that you will do to it, and nothing new is being revealed when you get new items. So we're just gonna have to keep playing with it and see what happens. But Michael is now...
Michael? Don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like I'm disgusting. I finally feel good. I'm normal now. That's why I came here. Take these, Jacob. They're for you. They're all for you. Everyone loves you. My own mother would smother me if it meant you could be her son. I itch because I can't be you, Jacob. I'm not making you itchy. But when the itches come, Jacob, when the itches come, you scratch.
Well, what the hell? Seems Michael has been scratching a wee bit too much, but he also has got that white boy hairline now, and a mustache showing that he has grown up significantly at this point. But he also feels a level of disdain toward Jacob, with him stating everything is for Jacob, everyone loves Jacob, his own mother, Michael's mother that is, if she could have Jacob, she would smother Michael to do so, showing a level of projection onto us. Maybe Michael didn't have the best childhood. Maybe as he got older, he got more jealous of Jacob and what life he got with his parents. Maybe Michael's dad wasn't as nice because, again, Michael's dad is part of the clan. Maybe his childhood was a bit more abusive, and as he's gotten older, he became more jealous, and jealousy is a thing that the Bible does not want you to have. Envy, of course, is a sin, and if you're sinning, you're against God, and that's probably why Michael is feeling that intense itch, because whenever he sees Jacob, he feels envy. That's why it starts. Jacob causes the itching. That's why he wants to get rid of him. Michael has these impure, evil thoughts, acts of violence, whenever he sees Jacob, because he wants to have what Jacob has. Maybe it's a punishment from God or a punishment he himself is inflicting upon himself. Now, talking to Connor, he doesn't make a lot of sense, but he mentions Myrtle and Carter again. But he speaks about a place that they all once went to play when they were younger. And speaking to Myrtle again is Tontine.
Oh, you poor little thing. You just missed her. You are looking for little Myrtle, aren't you? I asked her to wait, but the little scamp shot off to board the train home again. I said to her, you should wait to say goodbye to little Jacob. But she said, but Father Tontine, I'll be back so soon. Of course, before all that, she gave me these riddles for you to solve. I think little Myrtle would like it if you solved them while she was away. I wouldn't lie to you, little Jacob.
Seems now Jacob questions Tontine's actions, and it's very clear Tontine is controlling the kids in some way, but we can't do anything about it. He is controlling them, preventing us from speaking to certain people, but all we can do is solve more riddles. And after doing so, we can talk to Connor. Okay, Tontine just sent us away. I wonder what is happening to everyone and why they are all slowly disappearing. Surely couldn't be due to a Tontine. And now we can speak again with Withnail again. What the fuck? So did he just kill Withnail? Is he merging him with something, some worm creature? Which I think are the strange sweets that he was eating that he mentions if you lose to him in his race. But Tontine shoos us away and gives us more riddles, and we can continue on doing what we are doing so far. And quickly doing that, this time we won't be able to speak to our friends, but 3 monstrous creatures, Cocoon, Eloy, and Morlock, which are some very interesting names to say the least. First of all, let's start with Cocoon. Well, how lovely. It's someone completely infested with larvae of some sort. And you might question, who the fuck actually is this? Well, if I was to hazard a guess, my bet would be on Connor. Connor, once he returns after he left the carnival, mysteriously had these little yellow specks in his hair, and they kind of visually match what the Cocoon has here. But why a cocoon? Well, they are used quite a lot in, I think, the Bible, but also in a lot of literature to represent spiritual transformation and, of course, times of hardship, as the process of metamorphosis, going from a caterpillar cocoon to a butterfly or moth, it represents a very hard time. It means that the individual isolates themselves, they face some great hardship, and they change in a significant way. They are being pushed by the challenges that God lays before you, and you have to grow from them, allowing you to grow wings and spread them and fly to new heights. It's why most people say that people who have faced the most challenges in life can achieve the most in life, because they understand what they need to do. They understand how hard they need to work, what sacrifices they need to make. And while it could be this good interpretation of metamorphosis and the cocoon and butterfly metaphor of changing and evolving and becoming someone better and evolved in a way. It could also link to the idea of being isolated and trapped inside oneself, like Connor is trapped in who he used to be, in that childlike thinking. Childhood isn't permanent, it doesn't last forever. That feeling of safety and security that a cocoon might give eventually is cracked, and we have to emerge from it, either flying or falling to life and what it throws at us. And I think this is what Connor himself is meant to represent if he is the cocoon, stating he is the older brother and he has to take care of Brett, showing that he does understand that he needs to have some level of responsibility but isn't ready for it. He still is hiding inside the cocoon and isn't ready to truly grow up. Okay, so what about this Eloy fellow? Eloy, I think, or Eloy, I think is one of the most important ones here to understand because, again, she gives us a time-limited task, meaning there is 2 sets of dialogue after it. But let's start with the name. This is a phrase, which is from this, I cannot pronounce it because I'm stupid, which literally means, my God. And it's primarily associated with this saying, which roughly translates to, my God, why have you forsaken me? So maybe God has forsaken whoever this is, or as she tells us, her name is Verity. But also in H.G. Wells, in one of H.G. Wells's novels, Eloys are a type of creature who are weak, surface-dwelling creatures who are degenerated descendants of the upper class, the contrast and polar opposite to the Morlocks, the lower class. But Verity here seems to know Jacob, telling them that they come from the same hamlet, the hamlet of Markership. But Jacob has completely forgotten her and only sees her as a monster. And it seems that Jacob has forgotten quite a bit, as Verity does give us details about our past and childhood that only a friend or someone close to us would know. But she does give us some riddles and tells us that we need to quickly solve them and need to help her escape from this place. And we are given again a time attack moment, and we need to solve these riddles. So what happens when you do beat the time? And after solving the next set of riddles that she gives you within the time frame, She escapes and abandons you, lying and not actually helping you. And if you don't do it, which you probably won't do it on your first time because these riddles are actually a bit confusing, you'll be greeted by Tontine, who will tell you,
Looking for little Verity? Now, little Jacob, I know you're eager to make new friends, but little Verity has a terrible habit. A habit of telling little white lies that, like snowflakes, cover the earth and turn the world into a world of their own. Oh, little Jacob, I'm sorry that children can be so cruel. Here, take these riddles. It'll take your mind off being so mistreated. Oh. I sent her home. Her time here was clearly at its end. I'm not sure she was having fun at all anymore. Of course you are, little Jacob. Why else would you be here?
Tontine tells us that Verity was a bad girl and was telling little white lies. Lies that don't harm us, but she was trying to gain something from us. And we did see that if we did help her, she did lie. She did escape by herself, as only one person could escape. And she now has been sent home. But she also did tell us that we are rotting like everyone else. Everyone else is aging and rotting in a way, because technically you are rotting at all times, but your body is able to regenerate in a way. But she got sent home. She got exactly what she wanted if we didn't help her. Or did Tontine send her home? Because when we ask Tontine what he did to her, he almost hesitates and comes up with an excuse. But what about this Morlock fellow? Hey, the opposite of an Eloy. Morlock is a bit of an interesting character. Morlocks in H.G. Wells' novels, again, they are a subterranean cannibalistic species in the novel The Time Machine and are the descendants of the working class, and they act as the antagonist of this book, but they are often described as stupid and ape-like. I wonder what kind of social commentary they were trying to make there, with the lower class being ape-like and cannibalistic, eating the higher class. I don't know. Never actually read the book. I'd love to know though, please let me know. Sounds interesting. Now again, after being given more riddles by this thing and not really learning a lot about it, we can speak to all the creatures again, but this time, if you speak to Eloy, Tontine is here.
Doesn't matter. We are all together and we are all alone. We all should strive to know less about each other. You are starting to see, little Jacob.
We should all strive to be strangers to each other. We should all be kind, but not learn anything about each other. But why? Good question. That was a question I had. And it makes you question this entire carnival and what it means to be strangers of each other, what that actually entails and leads to. I think the reason they want this is due to one reason. They want everyone to be kind and nice to each other. Most normal people that are somewhat regular are kind to strangers. They won't provoke them, try to attack them, curse them out unless you are a somewhat not very nice individual. The reason people start to hate each other is because they start to learn more about each other. The only way you can truly hate someone or something is if you learn something about it that you significantly dislike. It's often said that the people that know something the best often are ones that might hate it the most because they are the most familiar with it. Of course, people can hate things without knowing anything about it, but people often hate people or things because they perceive something about it. Think about school. Let's go to school. Let's do the basic example. You got the guy that gets all the girls and the kid will hate him because they see him as like a playboy, someone that goes around flirting with all the girls. But that's not what the guy's actually like. But he has that perceived perception of him, which he learned from seeing things with his own eyes. That's what he made up in his own head. That's what happens when we start to learn about people and have these traits and moments associated with them. We can build narratives and start to form opinions about them. Hate is a strong and overused word, especially in today's world. And I think you can only truly hate someone or something once you've become so familiar with it that you can form a relationship with it. Love itself can turn to hate so quickly because you know absolutely everything about that person. And I think that is a key point that Tontine here wants to make. When you're completely familiar with someone, when you're friends, in a relationship, married, love itself can be great, but it can turn sour just as quick. One action, one thing you say, one difference of opinions can lead to people hating each other. And this is something that I think they want to avoid. Is why they force people to all be strangers, because if you can't learn about each other, you can't hate anyone for anything because you don't know anything about them. So if you remove the need to learn about each other, hate can no longer be birthed, but also the possibility of love cannot be created as well. We would all live in harmony, but it would be painfully boring. Okay, well, we can now speak to Michael again, and oh god, he has itched a bit too much. He has itched so much that he started to pull himself apart and can no longer speak English, speaking what I perceive as moon runes. How fun. Now, when we speak to Morlock again, he reveals, or she, that it's been eating something that is, I'm guessing, a human or something that was once a human. Who could have guessed that? And the cocoon itself is getting significantly worse, with more flies hatching and starting to pour out of it. But it does try to speak with us, but we can't hear it due to the sheer noise of all the flies. But it gives us some more riddles that we can solve really quick. And once we do this time we can actually speak to one of our friends again, that being Myrtle. Wait a minute, her eyes are open.
Isn't this place so incredible, little Jacob? Daddy Tontine showed me these funny long dogs. You can feed them little treats and they get longer. Oh yeah, he gave me these. They're like mystery riddles. He said I could give them to you, or the other kids, if I couldn't figure it out. If you figure some of them out, let me know.
Yeah, something ain't right with her. She doesn't sound right. And her actually being voiced now is a clear indication that something has changed about her. But what? What has changed? Why is she so different? Why does she sound different? Obviously, she's speaking with an actual voice, but why does her cadence, the way that the sentences are written, and the way that she's talking to us feel just wrong? Who knows? She doesn't really tell us anything. She just gives us more riddles and shoos us away. So what about our other two friends, Morlock and the Cocoon? Well, let's go meet Morlock.
Little Jacob, this is not the occasion for you. Little Bart here has simply... Off of me, you cur! Little Jacob, it is time for you to leave.
So Tontine just got his face ripped off, survived it, snapped the Morlock's neck and told us to fuck off. What is happening? It very clearly shows that Tontine isn't as friendly as he's been trying to let on, with him physically very easily killing whatever the Morlock is, a strong beast, a human, whatever it is. But another person has died, meaning that someone has benefited from it, whoever is involved with Tontine. What about Cocoon? Well, Cocoon has died as well, and apparently Tontine has put something inside of us. Oi oi. But Cocoon here was devoured from the inside out by all the bugs that were hatching from inside of it. But now we just have to solve more riddles, as we are actually running out of people to speak to. And with all the people slowly being killed off and removed one by one, we only have a couple of people to speak with, that being with Michael and Myrtle. Oh no, it's Tontine.
Oh, little Jacob, don't mind a terrible weed has sprouted here. The kind of weed that gives rashes. Perhaps it was the source of little Michael's itching. What an imagination you have, little Jacob. Nonetheless, I have plucked it and salted the soil to keep you safe. Go play. Leave such maintenance to I.
Tontine just killed Michael. God damn, it's like a fucking battle royale or some shit here. Alright, what about Myrtle? Or whoever this new Myrtle was.
What's wrong, little Jacob? You look at me so strangely. Of course I am, little Jacob. Do you not like me anymore? You used to look at me with such kindness. In some ways, I suspected you even loved me. I'm the same Myrtle you've always had. Daddy Tontine asked me to give you this. It would mean a lot to me if you solved them. Please don't hate me, Jacob. I only want you to be happy. Do you not want me to be Myrtle?
Seems Jacob himself is also very confused and doesn't believe that this is the true Myrtle, and the fake Myrtle stating, "Do you not want me to be Myrtle anymore?" I think says everything that we need to know. This isn't Myrtle. It's some kind of skinwalker creature. But due to our dislike of it, the next time we speak to Myrtle, she is heading home.
I'm going home, little Jacob.
Dearest Myrtle has grown saddened by your disinterest in her and has decided to leave. That is, unless you would truly like her to stay. Perhaps it's time to go home. The sun is soon to rise.
Goodbye, Jacob.
Motherfucker, that is a skinwalker. That's got the zipper on the back. That isn't Myrtle. Tontine has transferred Myrtle's skin onto another person or monster to try trick us into something, but we resisted. We didn't fall for it because women only lead to our downfall. Ain't that right, lads? I'm only joking. But that person ain't real. That ain't the real Myrtle. So where is the real Myrtle? If we speak to Tontine, he states that all of our friends have gone home now and only we remain. We are the final person involved with the Tontine. And despite us desiring to go home, Tontine states that we must stay for a bit longer, not for his sake, but our own. And he does say that potentially you can have too much of a good thing, maybe telling us that whatever we gained from Tontine, from the death of our friends, might be a bit too much. But surprisingly, the next time we go to see if we can speak to anyone, after we solve a few more riddles, we can actually talk to Myrtle. Her skin has legit just been ripped off of her, and Tontine buried her like he did with Michael. And Myrtle warns us about what's happening and gives us the key to escape, and she tells us that the chicken was never a chicken and it was never forever. And yes, we can speak to Tontine again after getting the key, and he seems a bit off, almost sharing a bit too much personal stuff, that he sounds like a different person. There's two Tontines almost. The aggressive one that tells us to fuck off, and the slightly kinder one that shares a lot about his past and is a bit nicer to us. Tontine himself tells us that we, Jacob, are a special child, and he was once like us, and he will miss us once we return home, but he does promise he will not harm us, as he isn't that kind of animal. But didn't he just kill multiple people and snap someone's neck and tear someone's skin off? Pretty animalistic, unless this is a different Tontine. But now with the key, we can solve the mystery of the chicken. And with one of the riddles that Myrtle gave us, it says to look for a lock behind the riddle board. And there is legit a lock on the riddle board, and tapping it, it will fall off. And using the key she gave us, we can unlock the lock and we turn the chicken into the inner child of the forever chicken that looks like Tontine. This is Tontine's inner child. The forever chicken is his past, and it's a naked child thing. It's kind of weird looking, and we have been doing all those things to the chicken, which is actually Tontine as a child. So we've been like sticking things up its arse and force feeding it stuff and beating it up. So were we actually doing that all the time to the child version of Tontine? There's a lot of questions, but Myrtle does state that it isn't forever, meaning that this was a thing that happened at some point. It doesn't last forever because it is a limited time. If this is Tontine's inner child, it's his past. It's something that he can't forget. And the game is designed around us physically handling it, doing stuff, and inserting stuff into the chicken. We basically are playing doctor, if you will, with it. But after solving this riddle and one of the others, we can return to Myrtle again. And as Myrtle is dying, Jacob tells her that he likes her and found her pretty and asks her if she is mad at him. Lad, there's a time and a place for these things, and I don't think a girl that has had her skin ripped off really wants to talk about this shit right now. But as Myrtle states, Tontine fed her insides to the snake. The snake, it's now her. It has her face, telling us that the new Myrtle, the one that has the open eyes and an actual voice, is the snake turtle Gembu thing, the thing that she was playing with. And Jacob almost randomly just blurts out that this was your idea too, which sounds really odd. And you question, what does he mean by that? Was her idea to come to the carnival? I don't think these people really had a choice in coming to the carnival. We haven't even been able to leave the carnival. Unless Jacob isn't talking about the carnival, he's talking about something completely different. Now, considering the snake turtle creature thing has led me to look at it in a more phallic way, mainly due to my Xenoblade brain seeing Gembu, thinking of Zeke and going one-eyed snake, a snake feeding on insides, my brain leads to a slightly different thing, and it reads a bit odd in my head. Yeah, it could literally be a snake feeding on insides, but where do you put a one-eyed snake? Where does it go? It goes inside, doesn't it? Maybe this is the great sin they did. They had sex before marriage. That's a naughty naughty. But who knows? Jacob is basically speaking in riddles at this point, and Myrtle isn't really revealing a lot. And speaking to Myrtle one last time, she states she isn't real, and Tontine comes to deal with her.
The creature is right, little chicken. It's time to go. The day will soon break over this horizon. Step back inside. I will deal with this derelict thing. Solve your last riddles. You are almost done. There is no her, little Jacob. There is only a crude shape where her once was. Go back inside.
And Myrtle is now dead, and we have to solve the final riddles. But after doing that, we have one final conversation with Tontine.
No need for hoods anymore. There's no one to see you. It's almost time, Jacob. Hello, Jacob. You see my open eyes? innocent. Eyes shut everywhere. You see my open eyes as I see yours. Tell me what you see. It is her form, the part you took with you. This is but a facsimile of the real looking glass. Have called it by many names. But you see her, and I see him. This is our chamber of the guilty. We will always have been here. These are my final days as the guilty. Soon, I will be absolved. I wish to see that you too are absolved. When I am forgiven, this statue shall be my body, the mausoleum of my mind. Innocence once more. I know. More than anyone, I know Jacob. To tarnish one's soul so young. We are vile things. The terrible truth is, it is all fun and games. It is all fun and games. Until it is not. I was in my 8th year of life, such as you are now. It was all no. I didn't know it would all be permanent. I never meant to hurt him. He was a dearest and gorgeous friend. I just wanted to know, to play a silly game of doctors and nurses. Together, excited and confused, we snuck into a wagon. This wagon. What I did, was akin to firing a gun. You understand guns now, Jacob. When a gun is fired, and it strikes true, it cannot be undone. Check-in. Only punishment may blot the guilt. I have seen through your eyes, Jacob. When I cried to my mother, confused by what I had done, she made sure I knew that this was the only way. The only way home. From the shoulder of her desiccated form. much as how this damnable carnival has overflown mine. People expect ghosts, but it is symbols that haunt our world. You saw it, full of life, and you ruined it, and she helped you. Do not hide from it. You destroyed her, Jacob. And she destroyed you. Abomination. We are so very alike. You and I fired the gun. It matters little now. Although she may sleep dead momentarily, I offer you the choice to undo all of that. And so I offer you the only one who has ever helped I. An angel, Jacob. A lunar angel. A genuine angel. A sympathetic thing. It has fed on the judgment of your contemporaries. On basal organs warped and grown by slithering sins. You are a man, Jacob. You are responsible for women. I've grown weary, Jacob. I must commit my last to my moral liberation. These ligaments and bones must meet stone to carve my new form. A body that will never sin. The completion of the tontine between a beautiful mind and the filth of soul and form. So accept this angel from my innards and into yours. She will return you to a world of innocence and changelings. Without her, you will have no choice but to return to the hell of your making. The agony of being forever marred by your mistaken youth. Please, Jacob, I ask this not for her, but for you. Without her, you will simply do this all again. We are kindred. Please, Jacob.
And we are now given the option to accept or refuse this lunar angel. I know this shit just went crazy, but what the fuck did any of that mean? Well, let's go over it real quick and I'll try to figure it out as best I can. So let's start with what we learned. Tontine, the one with the torn face, and the one that we've been speaking to with, and the one that we are speaking to here with, I think are two different individuals or two sides of the same person. The one with the torn face calls us a default manifest, a painfully average person, as there isn't actually anything special about us. The only reason we are special is because there is an absence of others. We have caused us to lose everyone that we care about. We pushed all our friends away in some way. We literally are a tontine. The only reason we gained anything of value is because we lost people. That's the only way we are special. But why? Maybe because us losing people and being forced to see them die and suffer has mentally done something to us. It's strained us and changed us in some way. Watching all of our friends die or be exposed to all these disgusting things has made us more vulnerable. But for some reason, the other tontine that this one mentions really liked us as we are ugly, reminding him of himself, almost telling us that we are one of the same, explaining why he said that we are a special child just like him. Maybe we did something similar in the past that reminds him of himself. And after talking and speaking about all that shit, we then view the world for what it truly is, and we see the angel, what we perceive as the body of Myrtle, but Tontine views as the body of his dearest friend. And looking at it, he calls it a reflection, and this is the part of Myrtle we took with us. It's a replication, a perfect mirror of the real thing, and it's something that has many names, meaning whoever views it sees a different person. This is the most confusing part of this game, but I think the main thing that made me understand it was called the Chamber of the Guilty, a mirror into our guilt. Jacob sees Myrtle, Tontine sees the boy that he did something to. Because again, Tontine views Jacob as similar to himself, so we can interpret that the two of them did something similar. What did they do? Well, they tarnished their souls at a young age, more specifically the age of 8, the age that Jacob is at, and the age that Tontine was at when he did the same thing. But how can you tarnish your souls? Well, you can do it in many different ways, and Tontine, when he was 8, just like Jacob, did something that would permanently change his soul. He played doctor and nurses, and for those who don't know what that means, that's when a young child gets curious and inspect each other's bodies, and it's clear from what Tontine is saying that he might have gone a bit too far, inspected a bit too much, and did something that he shouldn't have. I'm sure I don't need to spell it out, but Tontine states that we did the same. We fired the gun. We did something to Myrtle that was vile. It tarnished our soul, and that action cannot be undone. I'm sure the snake metaphor might start to make some sense. The chicken for us was just inserting all these things inside of it, and Myrtle got to play with a snake that ate her insides out. I don't think I need to spell it out. I don't like to spell these things out, but some lads can turn a certain item on their body inside out, moving skin around, turning it inside out to use it, their dick and balls. It's a pretty smart bit of symbolism if you ask me. Is that what it's meant to be? Maybe. That's where my Guna brain goes, but it could be different. But I can't tell you what it's meant to represent, because that's what it is. It's in your eyes. It's how you interpret it. But the chicken as well was also Tontine's childhood, so he did the same thing. He physically did something to his friend, touched him in a way maybe inserted something somewhere where it shouldn't have been, or the friend didn't agree to it being there. I mean, a lot of the riddles had to do with us inserting stuff inside of its rear, and if that's a big thing of Tontine's childhood, I think we can assume that he did that to his dearest friend, forced something up his rear, an object or his wang. So now Tontine has trapped his childhood self inside the chicken and forced it to experience the same thing he did to his friend as an eternal punishment, a form of hell. Now the piece of skin that he shows us is the marking that was on Morlock, and he states that this was a marking on his mother, some mark of some sort, and for some reason the only thing I can see it as is the flag of Turkey. Well, that's because it's actually the star and crescent symbol, which obviously is associated with mainly Islam and many countries that have Islam as their main religion, such as Turkey. It's associated with many different things such as fertility, divinity, and sovereignty. Don't exactly know why it's being marked on people. I thought there might have been something in the Quran, in the Bible, that might have been used to show this and maybe say something about it. Maybe it's like, oh, you're marked by God or something. But I couldn't find anything on it, so I'm lost as anyone else. Yeah, if anyone knows anything about this, let me know, because I'm kind of stupid. But the lunar angel, I think, is the most important part here. We are offered a lunar angel who will fix everything. But what is a lunar angel? Well, basically, it's a moon angel. And are they a thing in the Bible? Not that I could find. They are somewhat a thing. They aren't a thing in the Bible, but there are a few angels who are associated with the moon, mainly the archangels, such as Michael, but they're not a thing really. There's no such thing as a lunar angel in the Bible. They are a thing in some mythologies and some stories and stuff, but nothing really that I could find like solid meaning from. So what do I think it actually means in this game? Well, that's the question, isn't it? The game itself has been exploring themes of transition, mainly from moving on from childhood to adulthood, the cycle of life. And the moon itself can represent cycles because the moon has its own cycle, the moon cycle, but also the moon represents the transition from day to night. So it's almost as if this thing is being presented as something that starts a new cycle, a new beginning, a new dawn, a new night, whatever. But the way it's phrased, it sounds like it's going to trap us in a specific part of that cycle. Imagine if day and night, the day-night cycle is how life transitions. If we're stuck forever in a certain night, we will never move on and see the next day. So if the lunar angel is presented to us and given to us as a way to fix everything, it will trap us and keep us in that childhood state before we have to take any form of responsibility or own up to the problem or harm that we did. And I think the next line reinforces that idea. You are a man, you are responsible for women. This was a line that certainly surprised me. Why? Because if you showed me this line and asked me who wrote it, I would guess a traditional man would write it. Who actually wrote it? Well, the game is made by two trans developers. It's Natalia and Autumn West are both trans. And they're both she/hers, they're both women. I'm going to assume women and female. If I'm wrong, please correct me because I am stupid. But why did the line itself really surprise me? Well, of course, it reads in a very traditional man way. Men are responsible for women, provide for them, raise the family, you know, they come home, they bring the money in, they put the food on the table, they protect them physically from others. They are responsible. And this idea, this line of thinking, some people would call a form of toxic masculinity. I've said in the past that I think toxic masculinity is a load of bollocks. I don't really explain it. Why? Because then in the next 5 sentences, I went on to talk about some things that people see as toxic masculinity as bad things. And I think I should really explain why I think that, why I think the phrase and the definition of toxic masculinity and what it became was stupid. So for me, toxic masculinity is people try to push, or older generations try to push, a lifestyle that is a more traditional man, but it is more detrimental. So for me, the main things of this are you build an environment that is aggressive and abusive in a household. So that would be things like, we're going to get a thingy here, so be warned. Physically or sexually abusive to your wife. Sexual misconduct in the workplace as well is another big one. You know, slapping a girl's ass as you walk past. That ain't right, lads. Keep them to yourself. Physically hitting your kids with no real reason, time and a place. But doing it too much, that's bad. Another one is the discouragement of men taking care of themselves. So the big one you always see is like the skincare thing. You always I'm sure all of you have heard, like, you have someone older in your family, they'll see you put on moisturizer and they go, what you doing, you puff, you're a little fucking woman now. It's something newer, but don't feel discouraged. Take care of yourself, take pride in yourself, and make sure your skin is healthy. I had really bad skin for many years, especially in secondary school, but now that I have a good skincare routine, but also it can even be like eating healthy and, you know, wanting to work out and do certain workouts that are good for you. Like, I think we're seeing a bit of a rise of this again though, with the working out specifically, like seeing the discouragement of like, oh, you're not lifting weights, what are you, a girl? Oh, you're not benching 415 pounds? Fuck off. Just do what you want. Also the eating healthy, the big protein craze at the moment. Like, what's that? You're eating a fucking donut? What are you, some pussy? Like, come on, man, you gotta be eating this fucking disgusting protein bar that makes you want to fucking kill yourself. It's got 20 grams of protein. You get the point. It's where it's just like kind of just shaming people. And then of course the other one is like dressing how you want or making yourself look how you want. And also mental health. That's another one. Men, a lot of the time, do discourage you from sort of sharing mental health issues. There's a time and a place for it. Some men don't want to talk about this sort of stuff. I myself don't like talking about it to actual people. I do it on my YouTube channel. But that's because I don't really trust people. That's a whole nother can of worms that I'll get into one day. But what did toxic masculinity actually morph into it? Why did it get to the point where I started to not like the actual word, the phrase, and how it was used? Well, that mainly has to do to back in school when I was in secondary school. My generation was the generation that was sort of first pushed this idea and really presented it. So what was presented to me 5, 6, 7 years ago when I was in school? I don't remember what year I was in. I think it was either year 9 or year 10. I can't remember. So for a couple weeks in school, we were presented many different presentations about toxic masculinity and mainly them wanting to try curb the issue and prevent it from occurring within our generation. My generation, or my year, was kind of, I guess, the first year that was really presented with this topic. I'm 22, if you want to know, soon to be 23. So I was on the older end of that generation. And we were being presented with these ideas, I think, with the hope that these behaviors would be curbed. Okay, fair enough. We want to try to stop, spousal abuse in the future. We want to help boys with their mental health because male mental health is one of the biggest killers in boys. Suicide rates are 3 to 1 in men compared to women. So they did a lot of speeches, and I remember we had like multiple talks during our form time, which was our like morning class. But this day, I remember they gave our form room teacher, she gave the presentation on this, and she started giving a lot of her own opinions on it. And I remember she pointed out the idea that boys shouldn't, not like, oh, you shouldn't feel like you have to, you shouldn't do this. This is bad if you do this. You shouldn't provide for a family. You shouldn't go into a job that is physically laborious or traditional man. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. This is bad. This is bad. This is bad. This is bad. Over and over again. It was never, you shouldn't feel pressured. You should feel free to do what you want. You shouldn't feel pressured into having kids, so on and so forth. All this shit. And I remember it just rubbed me the wrong way. And I was like, no, that's kind of weird. And I remember like quite a few people in the class were challenging it. Like, what do you mean? And she's like, no, that's bad. You shouldn't do this. You should not think like this. And it's like, what the fuck are you going on about? So of course, that ended. We don't have any classes with her, so we fuck off to our actual classes. But sometimes we have what is called an extended assembly. And it was an hour-long presentation on this exact topic where we had these external speakers come in to talk about the topic. And they came in to push this message again. These are not our teachers. These are external speakers who are going around the country doing this for, I think, a charity. It might have been either a charity or a government thing. I can't remember. But they themselves pushed this message. And the main message that most people took away from it was that it was so confusing. But it was like, oh, you could be like pushing that you don't have to be a man. Like, that's bad. Man is bad. And they were pushing the idea of like, oh, you don't have to go into a traditional job that makes a lot of money. You could be a stay-at-home dad. You don't have to have kids at all. You can just be a solo single person that does what they want. You don't have to be strong and feel independent and feel like you can rely on yourself. You can be weak and cry your problems to other people. And it's like, yeah, you can do all that, but should we discourage kids from striving to be that sort of person? Should we discourage kids from feeling like they can achieve a lot in their lives? And the thing is, it didn't stop there. It kept going. It just kept spreading. It was anything that was traditional man was bad. Making a lot of money, being the breadwinner, that was bad. That was like wanting to have a traditional family. That was bad. Wanting to be competitive and try to be the best at something. It just kept going and going, and more things just fell under it. They pushed this message that you shouldn't be this thing because it's bad. And when the person that you look up to the most to, your own father, is more this traditional male, works a laborious job, is the breadwinner, is the one that provided the ability for my entire family to live the way that they did, it just rubbed me the wrong way. And it didn't feel like they were trying to prevent people from doing a behavior that was bad, but were just alienating certain people. I said that I think toxic masculinity is a bunch of bollocks because it changed into this thing where it was just discouraging and alienating boys from doing something that they might have valued. Yes, toxic masculinity is a thing. It is. Men who view women as weaker, who say that you need to be a certain strength, you need to be a strong man, you need to provide, you need to do these things. There's a difference in how they were presenting it. Toxic masculinity in my eyes is when men try to push behaviors onto other people that are more traditional in a way that is unhealthy, pushing values on young people who don't need them at the moment, seeing a person cry and telling them that they shouldn't do it because men shouldn't cry and not actually addressing the issue. That's the problem. Unfortunately, what they were doing was discouraging and trying to almost villainize people who were like that, people that wanted to be independent, that wanted to be strong mentally and physically, and wanted to be that traditional man. It's a fine line when you're presenting something like this, and unfortunately, I don't think a lot of care was really given to it. This is the problem I always have with men's mental health, is it never feels like a lot of care is truly given. It just feels like they make a blanket statement and just push it out without actually thinking about the effects. This has led to people being alienated. This is why we've seen the rise of these influencers, because people have latched onto it because they feel like they've been alienated and they see this person who is exactly what they wanted to be, rich, successful, that whole fucking shtick and thing where they rent out a mansion in fucking Bulgaria or wherever to make them look richer. I could go into so many more topics about like what I think is actually scary for such young generations and like the mental health stuff and how it's not being taken seriously. Like, for example, I think the whole thing at the moment with like young people, like 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds being on fucking like shit tons of gear, steroid out of their fucking ass, and they're like destroying their body just because they have some insane body dysmorphia is something that isn't talked about and isn't really highlighted. And I think it should be, because people got it rough now, and with how social media is and how fucking focused it is on all this shit and trying to make people feel like they need to be this certain thing and they shouldn't be this and that and you shouldn't eat this. It's just too much, and adding to that list causes more issues. That is what these speeches and these talks did. Yes, I think we should prevent a lot of the stuff that toxic masculinity was initially made for and defined as: abuse, pushing thoughts and not really caring about men's mental health and so on and so forth. But when it gets to the point where you're alienating certain groups of people and making them feel like their life is significantly worse and that they're doing something wrong, you are doing something that I see as a net negative. I think it's stupid. That's why I called it a load of bollocks, because this was my case. Is it true for everyone? Probably not. I'd imagine some schools had great speakers who actually did a good job, but unfortunately, I'm talking from my own perspective, my own life and my own experiences and what I learned from that message that I was trying to be taught. I don't think wanting to provide for your family, wanting to have a traditional life with a wife and kids that you make all the money for isn't toxic. It's not a toxic masculinity. It's just a traditional way of life, and it's a choice. It's a choice that you have to make with your wife or your significant other. Of course, if you discourage your significant other from being in employment, from finding a job, then yes, that is toxic masculinity. But if she doesn't want to, and you want to be able to provide a life for that person, that they can be that stay-at-home parent, fuck it, go for it. Strength to you if that's the choice that both of you made. Fuck, I myself one day want to be able to build myself into a person that can be relied on by hopefully my future wife, my future kids. If my wife doesn't want a job and wants to be a stay-at-home mum, fuck it, I'll give that to her. I will make it work. But not only that, I want to be relied on by friends, family, and so on and so forth. Not because I think they're weak, but or that it makes me feel like I'm strong and superior to them, but it just is a good thing to do. And I feel like this is what a lot of the toxic masculinity stuff and the speeches we were getting discouraged. It heavily discouraged from helping others. It said that, you know, oh, if you hold a door open for a woman, that's toxic masculinity because it's a traditional male thing. It's just kind. I understand that some women want to feel strong and independent. Fair enough. But as I always say, accepting kindness and help is not a weakness, it is a strength. If we all accept help from each other, life's easier, life's more fun. But in this speech, this assembly that we had, this TED talk, if you will, the traditional idea of a strong man, no emotions, you know, wanting to provide for the family was deemed as toxic because it was a more traditional way of life. And yeah, I think there is some issues with stuff like that. I think young men should feel comfortable talking about mental health and actually going to people to talk about stuff like this. But the problem is, it still isn't. Mental health, in my opinion, still isn't taken as seriously as it is for both men and women. But this whole presentation, it just never sat right with me. It just never did. And it didn't sit right with anyone else in the year. None of the people that I called friends, it sat right with. And I remember at the end of it, they allowed for questions. And one of my friends asked one simple question. I don't remember the question exactly, but it was along the lines of, is toxic masculinity a label used to discourage and push down young men into acting and living in a specific way and prevent them from pursuing what they value in life. And you want to know what the speaker, the man that had been there teaching us and telling us how bad toxic masculinity was and how it's something that you should go against and you should never live like a traditional man anymore, his response was, I don't know. And I think now we are seeing it more than ever. We're seeing with my generation again, Generation Z, that a lot of the more traditional, I guess, male behaviors are gone. The rate of birth rates are going down. Even the amount of sexual partners that people have is going down significantly. How willing young men are to go out on dates now and everything and actually pursue women is going down significantly because they're too scared to interact with women because they're scared that, you know, they'll be viewed as creepy and they'll be called out for as such and be called whatever. The world itself discouraged these behaviors so much that now we're in a place where young men like myself feel discouraged from actually even going out to find people. They're scared to help women. As I said before, like, I try to help as much as possible, but I still get it. I can't remember the last time I actually tried to be serious with a girl. Thought, like, you know, start throwing my hook into the pond to see if I could catch the fish. I don't even bother. I don't even put the bait on. Fuck it, I ain't even out the house. I'm not even on the boat in the lake to catch fish. Why I'm single. It's because I just cannot be bothered at the moment. But the speaker, when he got this question, I think he did know the answer. He did know that toxic masculinity has gotten to the point now where it has pushed boys down and it has pushed lads from actually being themselves and discouraging them from doing basic things now. But I don't think he wanted to admit that the hour presentation that he had done 4 times already that day and still had to do one more time was wrong and was a bad thing that he was spreading. Toxic masculinity was something that became way too broad. It covered way too many things. It just discouraged general male behavior that was seen as traditional because that's bad. And it just meant that a lot of people felt very alienated. I genuinely believe this push of this broad toxic masculinity definition has resulted in this. It has resulted in the suicide rates going up significantly more because a lot of young men feel so pressured and alienated in life now. Of course, it's not just, you know, the traditional young man that is killing themselves. Of course, many people are killing themselves and there's a lot of issues. And I'm not saying that living your life in a different way is wrong. I'm saying discouraging someone from living the way that they want to live will lead to this. That's why we've seen it rise. We are seeing the LGBTQIA community. We're seeing them be pushed around now. We're seeing, you know, the rise of like the Reform Party and such and their political views. We're seeing that this will lead to people feeling alienated. It will happen. People will start to feel like there is no way out. They are not accepted in life and they will kill themselves. But I want everyone to know, whatever your political beliefs, your sexual orientation, your color of your skin, where you come from, what religion you follow, anything, you're welcome in this world. You're welcome in my community as long as you do not spread hate. And that to me is what toxic masculinity, when it was presented to me in school, when the teachers and the speakers and everything were trying to eliminate it, that is what they were doing. They were alienating people from wanting to live life in a certain way. As long as you don't harm others, I think you should be able to live in any way that you want to. If it makes you feel happier, do it. And I know some people will state that that's not what toxic masculinity is. Yeah, it isn't. A lot of its broad scope has been changed, but to me, forever, every time I hear that phrase, toxic masculinity, I will always think about those speeches that I was given, the lessons that the teachers tried to teach us in school that I full-heartedly disagree with. I feel like the tangent's going on a bit here, but I'll get to my point now. Generally, I think the toxic masculinity, the actual use of masculinity, made the entire thing just felt wrong because it was clearly targeting and alienating a specific group of people and behaviors they had, and acting like the issues that it was targeting don't apply to other people is also an issue. Acting like men don't get abused in relationships, yes, I know it's significantly less common, but it's still a thing. Acting like the behaviors and lifestyle that sometimes women are pressured into. I'm sure many people feel like they're pressured into having kids, especially women, who might not want to because of what you have to go through with all that. And that's kind of the problem I had, was it was only challenging one side of it, and the way that they were doing it felt very misguided, and that they weren't really frame it in a way that is not saying that these behaviors are bad, like being a traditional man, but presenting that you don't have to live like that. That's kind of the problem I have. But I also think they should have definitely done it more for women as well, because I feel like women have the same problem as well, the traditional lifestyle of women, and that's on the rise now as well. The push to what is called a trad wife, I guess, in a way. But all of this talk about culture and discouraging that traditional lifestyle, I think has led to a very different thing, and that is not related to just toxic masculinity, but just the general culture, especially in the Western world. That's a level of almost indifference to each other. People don't care about each other anymore because we're so disconnected and isolated from each other and almost feel alienated from each other. Everyone's in groups. You're on that side of the political party, on this side, or you believe in this, you believe in that, you have this opinion, I have that. It has led to a lot of division, and now people don't really care a lot about each other anymore, and this has led to a multitude of issues. But because people are being discouraged from looking out for each other and protecting each other, I think this has led to many things happening. But one of the biggest issues that I think has been on the rise in recent years is sex crime. In the UK especially, has gone up significantly. The amount of sexual misconduct, sexual assault, and rape has gone up significantly. And I think that's mainly due to the generation that was raised to not be protectors. They were raised to not feel like they have any form of responsibility for each other. Young lads were pushed to believe that as a man, they are not responsible and they should not feel like they have to protect women. They should not have to protect others. And while, yes, I do not think you should not raise kids to feel like they have to protect people and that they should be on alert for this, unfortunately, the world we live in is like this. I'm not being sexist. I'm not being, anti-women. I'm not saying women are weak. But unfortunately, the average man is stronger than the average woman. And if a man decides that he wants a woman physically, 9 times out of 10, there is nothing. Like, the woman will just be taken. And we're seeing that. Of course, the crime statistics there, but also in London now, is becoming a big issue, the rape gangs. This is an issue that is actually being brought up in Parliament and stuff now. What do I think of it? I think it's an issue. I think it's an issue that spreads way beyond things like that people are saying about immigration and stuff, because in this country, the UK, most sex crimes are committed by white people. My people. So it's an issue. It's becoming a massive issue, and I'm sure most girls, they feel wildly uncomfortable in workplaces and such. And to be honest, I think it's more common than people realize. I myself, stated many times, I'm a 6'4", built like a bear, male. I'm big, I'm scary, and I look fucking miserable. I will not have the same experience as a woman who is 5'2" to like 5'10" in a workplace. They will feel very different to me. I myself know that if shit hits the fan, I can punch back. I can physically restrain someone. I can put someone on the floor if I need to. But can everyone else? Can the other guys I work with, the younger guys, can they do it? Can the older guys do that? Are they, not physically as able as me? Can the girls do that? It's not just about men and women. It's everyone. Can everyone keep themselves safe? I know I can, but can everyone else? Can they all keep themselves safe? If something happens, can they defend themselves? That's always a question that I ask myself, and it was not something I thought before, but that's just because of how society is raising people. And I think with how society is raising people now to be so selfish and so self-centered, we're getting to the point where people aren't looking out for each other. And I think people should always look out for each other. Men, women, whoever you are, whatever you identify as, you should always want to protect others. You should feel some form of responsibility to keep others safe if you physically can do it. Again, I encourage you to not only help people, but also accept help when it's given to you, be it a simple thing like helping you at work do a simple task. I do believe that we need people who can help. We do need people that can protect, because fuck me with how life is getting and how aggressive people are. It's just getting worse, man. Am I going to act like I was always like this, that I always believe that people should protect each other? No. I didn't. I was once selfish, self-centered, and I didn't give a fuck about anyone else. All I cared about was myself, and that led me down a very dark path and led me to some of my darkest, days where I fucking hated my life. But now where I'm a bit older, and I actually look at the world in a very different light, and I value others a hell of a lot, even people that I just have a casual conversation with at work, I value them a lot. Because they add something to my life. They add a level of companionship where I feel like I'm part of a community. I value that and I want to protect that. Quiet times will kill us. The quiet times almost killed me. I'm someone that is very isolated. I'm someone that is lonely. I am someone that is an introvert. I've really struggled to talk to people. I really do struggle to socialize and I find it really hard, but I'm getting better. And that's mainly the help with a certain friend at work who knows who. But those quiet days, they almost killed me. I know they did. I know if that kept going, if I was still in London now, I might be dead. And I'm so grateful I moved to where I am now because it has completely changed who I am. I now value people so much because I know how lonely and how dangerous being alone can be. How dangerous it is to feel self-centered and isolate yourself and not value others. So now I'm in a place where I want to protect people, where I want to make sure people are all right. Be it man, woman, child, dog, cat, random guy you share a smoke with at work. They should be valuable to you and you should want to protect them because again, we are all responsible for each other and we should all care for each other, not just ourselves. People should feel comfortable being themselves to whatever extent that be, as long as it follows and isn't illegal. Protect it. Make sure those people feel comfortable being around you. Everyone in life, in my opinion, has the right to feel safe and happy with where they are, who they are, and what they're doing in life. They should never be in a place where they feel unsafe and feel scared of doing what they're doing. They should never feel like they are being judged for who they are and being shamed for that. And I think this line is meant to be that. Man, woman, whatever, doesn't matter. I think it's basically meant to say, if we hurt someone, we need to find a way to fix it. We are responsible for everyone. Yes, you cannot fix everything. It's the most man thing my brain can do. We'll always ask, if there's a problem, how do I fix it? That's how the man brain works. We just want to fix things. But everything can be fixed, but sometimes there's not a traditional way to fix it. Sometimes it is just sitting down and having a conversation with someone who just wants to vent their problems. That itself can be a fix. You don't do anything. You yourself don't fix it. You let them fix it, but you help them. Again, accept help. It is not a weakness. So, with all that, should we accept the angel? Should we accept the easy way out? Should we accept that everything will return back to normal and not learn from our mistakes, not learn and grow from it? Should we remain a child forever and not become a man? Accepting the angel's help, despite me stating for a while to always accept help and it's not a weakness, I think is wrong. God does not help us because we need to learn and raise ourselves up to prove to God himself that we can grow, that we are not just full of sin, that we can overcome it and choose to go against it. If God needs to fix our problems every time we sin, then we're not free. We're just these beings that are born to sin and only God can cleanse us of it. If we ourselves can prove that we can not sin, that we can go against it, then we prove our value to God, whoever that is. So I think the correct choice, in my eyes, is to reject the angel and live with what happened and try to learn and grow from it and maybe fix the issue. But this choice now leads into two endings. And I'll start with the accept ending, as I think it's the wrong one.
It is perhaps the only thing that can. I am proud of you, Jacob. You have done as I. You will someday be as free as I.
Jacob. Oh, Jacob, I'm so glad to see you. I knew with all my heart that you would come back for me. I came over from my house. I ran over as soon as I could. Yes, Jacob, we all had so much fun. I'm sure Connor, Michael, and Brett will all want to see you too. Oh, Jacob, everyone has so much to thank you for. What you did is so incredible. Jacob? What's wrong? It was, but you handled it all so well. I don't think anyone could have done it but you. Yes, really. I don't just say things like that to flatter you. You're so silly, Jacob. Oh, Jacob, I could never be mad at you. You're like my favorite person. Honestly, you're my best friend in the whole wide world. Oh, Jacob, I care about you so deeply. Don't cry. You have nothing to cry about. I was, Jacob, but you saved me. We can spend the rest of our lives together now, all thanks to you. Can I tell you a secret, Jacob? I think I like you, Jacob. I'm sorry. Is that wrong? I didn't mean to run. I just needed time to think. But I feel clear now. The truth is, I have a second secret. Yeah. I think I love you, Jacob. Jacob, I love you. I love you so, so much. It's a long way home. Would it be okay if I stayed the night here? I already spoke to your mom about it. Yeah, she said it's okay. I love you, little Jacob.
Yeah, it just feels wrong. The girl we like forgives us entirely for what we did, whatever that was, and is in love with us and basically jumps into bed and makes love with us. I don't know, man. It's clear that this is all like a fake dream part. It's like not real. And a post-credit scene does show, I think, Jacob being taken over by some sort of parasite, whatever that is. The parasite itself has the marking on it, the thing that Morlock had. But that myrtle, by the way, was the fake one, the one that was created by Tontine and the snake creature. But basically, what this ending is we didn't learn any lessons. We trusted some deity, some demon, whatever Tontine is, into fixing our life, basically giving our life to it so it could create a fake world that we live in complete ignorance and bliss while it does whatever it does to us, takes us over with the parasite or births a new age of something. We never face the consequences of our actions and truly grow from them. We don't become a man. We forever stay in that childhood state and never move on. So what about the reject ending?
Oh, Jacob, naught but agony awaits you. A possession of guilt. You fired the gun, and you fired true. If you choose to turn away from the second innocence, naught but agony will await you. I beg of you, reconsider. How a life ends decides everything, little Jacob. If we are met by heaven and goodness, it is the most beautiful story told. But if we are met with nothing, life is but a cruel joke, echoed into the dark by a deaf and howling jester. Do you hear it, little Jacob? Do you hear the joke? When the silence of meaning arrives, and you truly hear that silence washing over the real, I hope you howl. I hope you cackle and cry with laughter. I hope you giggle and snort, knowing it didn't have to be a joke. Your life could have been the most beautiful story ever told. Goodbye, little Jacob. Say you the same, and with the closing of your eyes you shall awake. Say goodbye to little Jacob, and you will be thrust into the hell you have made. So now, close your eyes and speak with me. Goodbye, little Jacob.
Jacob! Jacob, what's wrong? You were screaming. Are you okay? Just breathe. Just breathe with me. Shh. It's okay. You had a bad dream is all. Everything's okay. It's okay. I know nightmares can feel really real, but it was just a dream. Everything's okay. Harry and I were just down the hall. You're in your room, you're warm in your sheets, Everything is okay. You want me to get you Bunny Ribbit from your shelf? Of course, sweetheart. You've been here all night. Jacob, in the morning we can go check on them. But it was just a dream. All your buddies are okay. Oh, you must have had a really awful dream. Sweetheart, everything is gonna be okay. Jacob, do you have something you want to tell me? Take your time, Jacob. Don't rush yourself. Sweetheart, of course I would. I don't just love you on good days. Did something really bad happen? No matter what it is, I won't be mad. Keeping things bottled up isn't good for you. It's bad for your soul. Boop. But she was just over a few days ago. You two were playing in the yard and were having so much fun. Jacob, you can tell me what happened. I won't be mad. It's okay, Jacob. Jacob. You aren't a bad thing that happens to people, Jacob. You are a good thing. But what you're feeling is really important. It's important that you don't feel okay about what happened. It's no secret to Harry and I that you and Myrtle like each other. But what happened between you two isn't meant for kids your age. It's natural to be curious. But you feel confused and scared because you're not old enough for stuff like that. You aren't a bad person, Jacob. And I don't think Myrtle hates you. But you have to understand that Myrtle is probably having a conversation like this with her own mommy and daddy. Being a kid is a lot, and we don't always get it right. It's really important you know that, Jacob. I know sometimes you're just playing and doing what's fun and interesting, and it gets too serious and real. Make sure to give Myrtle lots of time. She might not be ready to see you again right away. And the next time you two play, let's make sure to have other kids over too. But how about nobody goes near the tree stump for a while, okay? How do you feel, Jacob? I'm so glad. You aren't a bad thing, Jacob. You are the most wonderful little person I've ever met. How about before I go back to bed, I hum you your lullaby? Would you like that? Okay, sweetheart. Just lay back and rest your eyes. Don't chase sleep. Just let it find you.
I don't really know how to approach this ending and really talk about it. It's a really hard thing to talk about, but let's start about with the great sin that Jacob committed. Well, him and Myrtle, two young children, played doctor, got a bit too close, and Myrtle got scared and ran away on the verge of crying. I really thought this game was going to cross the line. I thought they were going to be a bit older. It was going to be sort of like young teenagers messing around. The guy took it a bit too far and the girl wasn't, happy with it. Sexual assault, you get the point. But I think when they mentioned that Jacob was 8, it kind of flips it, and that interpretation I had, the way I thought it was going, the way it was reading, it makes it almost like a shock, and I think that's intentional. Young kids this age don't think about sex or even have like physical attraction the same way that older people do, because a certain process in life causes you to start thinking that way and your brain chemicals work that way. And young children and kids also have this fun way of making very small misunderstandings into these much bigger things. Like they freak out over the smallest things possible, and they think that it's going to destroy their lives. And even the developer, It's the Talia, mentions that one of her friends when she was 5 or 6 talked about how if they touched penises, they were going to go to hell and they were going to completely be bad people. And it's this small thing, these small actions that they make. They believe they have these massive consequences. And I mean, the conversation with the mother, whoever it's voiced by, I could not find the voice cast for this game. I really don't know who it was. I don't know if each of the devs voiced one of the characters or they got someone else, but they did a really great job here. The way she deals with it and tells Jacob about what happened and what he should learn from it, I think is a really solid lesson that I think everyone should learn when they're a kid. That doing a bad thing or doing something that you perceive as bad doesn't make you a bad person at all. If you learn from it, grow from it, and make sure that you never do it again, you've changed and you've become a better person. You aren't a bad thing to people. You are your own person. You need to grow yourself and you need to learn these things. You shouldn't feel trapped into being a certain role. You should feel like you can change and you can grow and you can become whoever you want to be. Be it a man who protects and provides for a woman and family, a woman herself who cultivates a loving home, or a woman that decides that they want to move up in the professional world and get a big high-paying job, or anything in between. Whatever that could be, it's your decision and you should feel strength and love in that choice. Alright, one final post-credits scene with an angel-like figure, or is it God in its true form? I don't know, maybe not. But it does show us 3 different Bible verses. Let's go over them real quick before we end out the video, because this video is getting longer than I want it to be. First up, we have Job 2:8, which depicts a scene of Job suffering from painful itchy sores. I wonder why that sounds familiar. But these itches are so intense that he scrapes himself with a piece of broken pottery while he sits on a heap of ashes. It's a scene of ultimate humiliation, physical agony, and a profound sense of grief and utter misery, which does kind of link to the game in the way, with the action performed by characters like Jacob and Tontine being these actions that reflect that they feel completely humiliated. Their soul is completely tarnished by it. They feel this insane amount of grief and guilt from it. But also, of course, you have Michael with his itchiness, which you could link to that idea of he feels almost humiliated, the feelings he's feeling, and that he scratches it to try to get rid of it. Honestly, I'm not the person to talk about this sort of shit, but I think it's interesting and I want to point it out, so let me know in the comments if I've missed anything about these. The next one, though, is Luke 14:26, which the message itself in this part is that your devotion to Jesus and God must take absolute priority over all other relationships in life. And it even mentions that in comparison, your relationship with faith and the Lord should be so strong and so pure that in comparison to your family relationship must be like hate. It's that much more important. It's not stating that you must hate your family. It's just trying to emphasize how strong and how important that relationship with God truly is, and it should take priority over all earthly attachments. It basically challenges the followers of God to always choose God first, because God will never lead you astray, because family do occasionally do that. Next one is Psalm 137:9. This one's a bit confusing, but reads, "Happy is the one who seizes your infants and dashes them against the rocks." I think it's meant to be a thing about you should feel these strong, raw feelings and a strong desire for justice, and you should seek God in doing so to enact this punishment. I'll be honest, I don't know, this one really stumped me. Even the discussion around this one seems conflicted. People don't really know what it's meant to mean and what it's actually trying to say a lot of the time. So fuck it, I'll hand it over to you. If anyone can tell me, I'll be very happy, because I was very confused for about an hour. But the final quote that we get is not from God or the Bible or any form of mythology, but from Albert Camus. "God is not needed to create guilt or to punish. Our fellow men suffice, aided by ourselves." And I think this quote is quite interesting to put after the couple Bible verses that we've had that are mainly about divine punishment and how God can enact that. But basically what it is saying is that humans, we are capable of creating that intense feeling of guilt and suffering ourselves. We ourselves can punish ourselves or others for what they do without divine intervention, be it through societal judgment, the law, whatever, social pressure, or even self-criticism and self-punishment. And this pressure and punishment basically is stating that this is far more effective and relentless than the theological concept of hell and the punishment by God. Which is true. If you think about it, a lot of people don't really care. And if you say to them that you're going to hell, they'll just brush it off and they won't care about it. But what society has, laws and punishments for doing crimes, people won't do it. I don't know, man. This philosophical shit is way too much for my brain. Let me know if I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong, but I needed to comment on it because it's the final scene. Anyway, let's get on with the ending now. Crawling Angels is a really fucking interesting game, and a game that I don't think I am qualified at all really to analyze, but it's clear to me that the two devs have a hell of a lot to say and they want to share a message they strongly believe. That message that I interpreted as might be completely different to what they actually intended. But that's the beauty of this game. It doesn't tell us enough where there's a clear message in it. I have to make the message myself, the same way I did for the Black Souls video. But even if my interpretation is wrong, even if I went out of my way to try get an interview with the developers and really ask them what the game actually meant, to me, the message that they would tell me probably would not be the same as the one that I say. And to me, the message that they say won't affect me as much. The message and the themes that I found the most impactful are the ones that are outlined and the ones that I see myself, the ones that I can present to you. But does it matter if the developers intended it to be this way? No. It still has meaning to me. Even if the developers didn't intend it and they never thought someone would see it the way that I see it, that's the beauty of art, that's the beauty of games, and that's the beauty of life. We are all different, we all see things differently, but we should never put others or yourself down for seeing things differently. Never put each other into boxes. Share, learn, and grow from one another. We all can strive to be better people and help one another. So never put people down, always lift them up, pull them up, and push them up if you need to. If someone stumbles, pick them up and help them learn from that mistake. If something does happen that you don't like, challenge them, make them learn from it. Or protect them if it is something that they don't want to learn from that could cause them extreme harm. Life is scary and we all need to do more. But at the end of the day, we all need to learn from our actions. We all need to understand that we will all make mistakes and we all need to be able to learn and accept that we are not perfect. We need to understand that we can apologize and we can fix the problems we make and we can grow from them. Life is scary, but we should still learn from the mistakes that we find scary. And at the end of the day, we all need to do more for ourselves and each other. Because at the end of the day, we are all responsible for one another. Hello lads and lasses, thanks for watching and I hope you enjoyed. I know this video was a bit different because I tried to script it a little bit differently. It was a bit more unscripted, a bit more loose, and don't really know how it came out. It does feel a bit waffly at times, so yeah, I wanted to try and make this video a bit shorter. Didn't end up being a bit shorter, it's about the same length as normal. But I'm also getting sick, so my voice really hurts. So I'm not sure, I still have to do some of the voice acting. I haven't actually finished the video as I'm recording this part. So I might not even do the voice acting for all the characters because my voice is genuinely killing. So I might ship the video early, so sorry about that if you try to watch it without, you know, the visuals and you can't hear the dialogue, because most of it is voice acted. But anyway, thank you to all channel members, including Chelsea Tyler, Gator, Darren76, Itzbert, Carter Phillips, Corrego, Zerolino, Kento, Erman the Turk, Ashley, Jane Caliber, Jamie Barrett, Juniper LP, Damla Rat, Straight Gin, Synapse, Lolink12, Mr. Disappear, Shaku, Yakito, Daft Punk 58, Yavian Hammond, Corazonto, Tyler Reeves, Saint CL, Camden Shepherd, Zartane FF14, Renegade, Sailor Peach, and Not Saber. Thank you everyone for your support, it is greatly appreciated. And the next video I'm not actually decided on. I actually finished because I didn't realize this game would be the second video I would do. So I might do one more game and then do the Dark Souls video. I'm not sure what game I want to do next though. There was definitely a lot of people wanting Dishonored 2, but I don't want to do Dishonored 2 yet. I'm also tempted to do something like Bioshock or maybe another small indie game, although I don't really have any indie horror games on the top of my head that I want to play at the moment. I'll figure it out, but let me know if you guys have any suggestions in the comment or in the Discord. I do look at them, but at the moment I'm definitely conflicted on what to do next. Anyway, that is enough waffling from me. See you around. Crocodile.